Richard Dawkins has often been accused of being an Islamophobe. The same can be said for other prominent atheists like Sam Harris and the late Christopher Hitchens. It's interesting, though, that whenever they criticize Islam, they're Islamophobic, but they criticize Christianity with much more frequency and severity, and yet they never get accused of being Christianophobic. Well, in early December 2021, Richard Dawkins responded to these kinds of accusations by tweeting the following message: "You're Islamophobic. No, I'm phobic about FGM, female genital mutilation, whipping women for being raped, pushing gays off of buildings, honor killing, death for apostasy, extramarital sex, etc., teaching children anti-scientific nonsense. I'm not Muslimophobic. Muslims are the main victims of the above." Well, I don't often agree with Richard Dawkins on religious things, but I think that we're in fairly close agreement on this. So let's walk through some of what he has to say and then look at what the Bible has to say about it. The first item on his list is FGM, or female genital mutilation, sometimes what proponents call female circumcision. It's supported by Muslim scholars around the world, and even Muhammad himself addressed the issue. He implicitly advocated the practice because he merely warned that the cutting should not be too severe. Now, this is the surgical removal of parts of the female anatomy expressly for the purpose of diminishing women's ability to enjoy sexual intimacy. There is absolutely no medical benefit for this practice, and that is recognized. It is hardly possible to imagine a more heinous act of naked misogyny than for a man to permanently destroy a woman's ability to enjoy sexual intimacy as God designed. It is absolutely horrific and is diametrically opposed to the Christian view of feminine physicality. We could look at the Song of Solomon as the celebration of romantic love. In fact, some of the language there is a little racy. Just go to chapter 7. In 1 Corinthians 7, Paul says that neither marriage partner should deprive the other of sexual relations. The wife is just as deserving as the husband. Her sexuality and her needs are just as important as his. The second item on Dawkins' list is whipping women for being raped. Under Islamic law, unmarried women are whipped for sexual immorality while married women are executed. Rape is generally seen as a criminal act for which the woman is responsible. Again, this is nothing short of barbaric, anti-feminine bigotry. Third on the list is pushing gays off buildings. In Islam, homosexuality is a capital crime. While the Islamic State is perhaps the best known culprit of this practice, Islamic history sets the precedent for this form of execution. Pushing someone off of a high place is one method, but there are evidences that Muhammad's contemporaries burned homosexuals alive and stoned them as well. The American withdrawal from Afghanistan revealed much of the terror that Islam inspires among homosexuals. It is unfortunately easy to find heartbreaking accounts of homosexual Afghanis who were physically abused, sexually molested, and murdered because of their lifestyle choices. Although homosexuality is against God's design for marital intimacy, the kind of treatment that these people suffered, for whatever the reason, is absolutely foreign to Christianity. Next is honor killing. As has been the case in many societies throughout history, Islam sees the sexual purity of a woman as absolutely vital for a family's honor. Today, if a woman is thought to have violated the family's honor with her sexual behavior, she can be executed. This includes even suspected activity for which there may be no evidence. And it often includes instances where a woman is raped and sexually violated against her will. These killings occur with frightening regularity in the Middle East as well as other parts of the world. Honor killing is not demanded by Islam, although proponents do appeal to textual support in the hadiths, or the collections of the purported sayings of the Prophet Muhammad. While it is not necessarily prescribed, in many places it is permitted, and possibly even promoted. Next, we have the death penalty for apostasy, extramarital sex, etc. Islamic jurisprudence punishes a fairly large number of activities with the death sentence. It could include being the victim of rape, converting to another religion, or insulting the Prophet Muhammad, among other things. They are often put under the umbrella of spreading corruption in the land, which is a very vague and ambiguous term that is often very flexible and can be identified with any number of supposedly criminal acts, which includes leaving Islam. Finally, we have teaching children anti-scientific nonsense. Here, Dawkins probably means anything of a supernatural nature, although there are a number of things that we could all agree on. This would include the Islamic belief that the sun sets in a muddy pool at the end of the day. It also includes the belief that shooting stars are heaven's missile defense system against demons trying to sneak into heaven to eavesdrop on Allah's plans. And then there's the belief that if a fly lands in your food or drink, you need to completely submerge it, because on one wing is the disease, and on the other wing is the cure for that disease. Well, this kind of superstitious nonsense is exactly what you should expect from an uneducated 7th century merchant caravan robber. Not every Muslim chooses to follow the traditional interpretation of Islamic texts as intended by Muhammad. Some are much more Western and are what you might call liberal. Some might simply be cultural Muslims. But when Dawkins says that Muslims are the main victims of the above, he's right. Although Dawkins and I don't agree on very many things, we do agree on this. Those who follow a strict interpretation of Islamic texts and Sharia law will insist upon the things in this list, but it seems that they most often target fellow Muslims. While militant believers do lash out at the West and at believers in other religious faiths, they will more quickly attack fellow Muslims they consider insufficiently devout. This list is a reminder that there are so many people in our world who have been duped by the most successful false prophet in history. This brand of small-minded, bigoted, draconian, and retaliatory religion is simply unworthy of belief.